Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the Fury of Firestorm, issue number 28. Now, as you know, this issue is meant to be the first appearance of Slipknot, who was also in the 2016 film Suicide Squad. Now, Slipknot is maybe a guy who can use Slipknot as weapons, and also is a bit more of a gymnastics guy. And his first appearance was him battling Firestorm. And the cover mainly has him using his Slipknots against Firestorm. And let's go on the story. It starts off in space, where the Monitor is talking to one of his clients about capturing Laureen, who is meant to be the superhero Firehawk, and sets his plan in motion. And of course, as you know, with the upcoming crisis, gathering what other potential heroes he had in mind. We see how Rodney tries to score a winning shot. One of his rivals say, "What does it look like I'm doing? I'm keeping you from making that shot." Foul! Foul! Against the Marauders, number 6. And of course, we see how he gets annoyed, and we see how Jefferson tries to reassure Rodney in making the winning shot. And of course, despite his fears and best efforts, he makes the winning shot and able to win. We see how he sees that his girlfriend Dorleen is looking at him, and keep in mind for a time they did dated. And we see how the rival team's coach berates one of the players for screwing up. And we see how Jefferson and Rodney are in the showers. Something happens that takes him away. And turns out Professor Stein needs Rodney's help as Firestorm due to a sort of traffic problem. And we see how one of the drivers gets impatient and nearly gets himself killed, saying, "Oh, change this town's name to Grid City. Gotta act fast." And so turns an empty construction truck into a ramp. And of course, this is where Rodney goes a little too far, and you can tell Professor Stein is justifiably shocked and even horrified at Rodney's unethical behaviour, leaving the car in the middle of a subway, and him saying, "Bring it in? How am I gonna get it out here? Not a bad show for that." And we see how Professor Stein says, "This is outrageous behaviour, Ronald. Fix this situation immediately." Okay, I'll fix up the hole. Happy? And we see how he meets Laureen, who is meant to be the superhero Firehawk. We see how her father's disappeared and needs help. But of course, we see how they kiss, and turns out it's a trap by Slipknot. And we see how he says, "You'll gasp my name with your last breath. Ronald, do something. Use your Yukia powers on that noose before he catches the life out of you." And of course, we see how since it's made out of animal hide, he can't really affect it. So we see how Firestorm manages to try and break free and goes after him. And we see how Laureen tries to go Firehawk, but ends up getting trapped as well. And we see how one of the people working for the Monitor sends out the team to go in, guns blazing. And we see how, despite Firestorm's best efforts, Slipknot tries to get away more quickly and realises he's causing more harm than good, but knows he's going to slip up. And says, "Clever, nuthead. Come a little closer and..." Huh? Where'd he go? And of course, we see how he sneaks up from behind and uses some of his knots, saying, "Heads up, hothead. Forgotten more about hands-in-hands combat than you'll ever know. And of course, ends up tying him around and mainly throws him to his potential doom. We see how Rodney uses his quicks and wit to turn a fruit stand into a luxury bed. And just as everything's going according to plan, we see how Firestorm says, "It's not Halley's Comet, it's me, and I'm not very happy." And of course, we see how Slipknot realizes that he's totally screwed now, saying, "Of course, I could get into another line of work." And of course, we see how he throws him so far that he ends up ramming him right into a wall and leaves him there unconscious. And we see how Lauren comes to and kisses Firestorm for saving her. And we see how the monitor says, "That's quite enough. Switch off the remote, Lila. You watched it for once, I can't. He cost us a great deal of business this day. A great deal." And this is the story. So I think this story is pretty average. I think Slipknot is more of a guy who should be more of a Batman villain than a Firestorm villain. I think the problem is, the point of Firestorm, you want to have more energy-based supervillains to deal with the nuclear man. I think Slipknot is more of a guy who should be like a Batman or Green Arrow villain than a Firestorm villain. So I think the story still deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but kind of okay. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.